Hello, I'm Mary Beth Swanson, Social Services Secretary for the Salvation Army's Central Territory.
Hello, I'm Michael Smith, the Assistant Social Service Secretary and Pathway of Hope Director.
Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 global pandemic, Salvation Army personnel have been on the front lines of responding to the needs of families and individuals across the 11 Midwest states, which encompass the Central Territory. In a matter of weeks, millions of people have lost their jobs or been furloughed, with no determined date when and if their jobs will be there when our economy is reopened. In some communities, we have documented up to a 700% increase in the number of persons seeking assistance for food, housing, transportation, and financial assistance for rent and utilities. How we serve communities has had to quickly adapt so that both our essential personnel as well as those that we serve are protected and follow CDC guidelines. So we've increased our capacity to provide home-delivered meals to isolated seniors, established drive-through food pantries, and utilized online communication tools to ensure clients have consistent connections and support during this crisis. The necessary measures to protect public health and safety has had not only an economic impact on families and individuals, but has also impacted our social, emotional, and spiritual health. So today, we want to take a few minutes to discuss the psychological stress related to the outbreak of coronavirus and share with you a few ideas about maintaining good mental health during this time. Certainly, this has been very stressful for everyone, but coping with stress in a healthy way will make you and the people you care about and your community stronger. So, Michael, what are some common feelings people under stress experience?
Mary Beth, you're right. This has been a time of strong emotions. There is no right or wrong way to feel, and we know that everybody reacts differently to stressful situations. However, it's normal to feel some degree of fear and anxiety, as we've never faced anything like this before, and it's happening at the same time around the world. But certain people may respond more strongly to the stress of this crisis, including older people and people with chronic diseases who are at higher risk of COVID-19, children and teens, people who are helping with the response to COVID-19, like doctors and healthcare providers and our first responders, and people who have struggled with mental health conditions previously, including depression and problems with addictions.
Besides anxiety and fear, what are some common symptoms of stress during this disease outbreak?
Worry about your own health and the health of your loved ones. Sadness and a sense of deep loss. You may feel confused on how to respond. You'll notice changes in sleep or eating patterns and difficulty in concentrating, and worsening of chronic health problems. You may also see an increase in addictions like alcohol. And you may feel alone. As an adult, it's really hard to admit when we're lonely and we need help, and yet we're forced to isolate ourselves, and this makes connection even harder. And finally, you may feel deeply insecure. There's many questions. What's going to happen next? Will I be ready for it? Can I handle it?
So all of those are typical reactions. But what if you or someone you care about are feeling overwhelmed with emotions like sadness, depression, or anxiety, or feel like you want to harm yourself or others? What should you do?
If potential harm, immediately call 911 and they'll forward you to a crisis hotline. If it's not a potential harm situation but you are feeling overwhelmed, if you have a counselor, call them, or a trusted friend, your pastor, or your Corps officer. By the way, the Salvation Army has opened a call center to respond to those seeking emotional and spiritual care. That number is appearing on your screen now.
What are some things we can do to cope and support ourselves when we're so stressed out about the coronavirus?
There is power in core feelings. Feel and express what is going on with you emotionally, and this will help the feelings be less strong. Stay connected to God, family, and trusted others. Talk with people you trust about your concerns and how you're feeling. And take breaks from watching, reading, and listening to news stories, including social media, After all, hearing about the pandemic repeatedly can be very upsetting. And take care of your body. Take time to relax. Take some deep breaths and stretch. Try to eat healthy, well-balanced meals. Exercise regularly. Get plenty of sleep. And of course, avoid excessive caffeine, alcohol, and drugs. And take time to unwind. Try to do some other activities that you enjoy. And finally, connect with others. Again, call your healthcare provider if stress gets in the way of your daily activities for several days in a row.
Michael, I think the great takeaway is that there are a variety of ways to cope with the stresses that many of us are experiencing. Perhaps it's talking to a trusted person about how we're doing, keeping a routine, taking a break from the 24-hour news cycle or social media. Being intentional about practicing self-care will help us better love and care for those who depend on us during this uncharted season. Lastly, we need to acknowledge that Jesus knows the status of our minds and emotions. Through prayer, reading the Bible, and inspirational materials, we can find comfort, rest, and peace for these challenging days. Thank you.